Commissioner Baker, would you have our invocation, please?
I'll be happy to.
Maybe we need to remember Representative Carter
Yeah.
I was just
being in
thinking,
the
thank you for reminding me.
hospital.
Let's pray, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your guidance, and we thank you for your blessings and your leadership, Lord. Lord, we bring to you Republican Carter, Representative. Please touch him, Lord, while he's in the hospital. Restore him, his health, make him whole. We give you the glory, the praise, and the honor. Help us to use wisdom tonight and guidance. We ask these things in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker,
Here.
Commissioner Garver,
Here.
Commissioner White,
Here.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Here.
Mayor Lamb.
Here. In your package, you had the minutes from our August 8 meeting. Any corrections to those?
Move to approve.
I second.
Just for the record, it's August 3rd.
Third. Move to approve with that correction.
Yes.
April the 3rd, August the 3rd.
August the 3rd, I think you said the 8th, so.
Oh, I did. Okay, I misread that. Okay, August the 3rd meetings. We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Commissioner Baker,
Yay.
Commissioner Garver,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yay.
Mayor Lamb.
Yay. Now's the time we have set aside for our citizens to comment. We'd be glad to hear from you if you have something you want to say. Just approach the microphone and you can give us your name and your address.
My name is Debbie Alden, and I live at 9421 Leland Drive in the Greenbrier Cove neighborhood. I am here to talk about sidewalk concerns within our neighborhood and also mowing and cleanup issues in our area. We have two separate issues with the sidewalks. The first issue is the raised portions of the sidewalk. A person from the Public Works came out and marked many of the areas with orange paint on July the 20th. And these included some storm drain covers as well as sidewalk cracks that were at different elevations. When I followed up 2 weeks later, I was told that the storm drain covers are pre-poured and could not be ground down to make them level. They had a company come to the neighborhood and try out a product on Sweetberry that basically, I went over to that area and I looked at it, and they put in like some concrete filler. So now the person, if they're walks on the sidewalk, goes up a little hill on the top of the grate and then back down the little hill. I think that this is still a hazard, and I'm not sure that it's going to work. Our 55+ community and people using canes, walkers, and wheelchairs as forms of transportation on the sidewalks are still going to have trouble maneuvering on these little ramps going up and down. So I hope that the Public Works Department is looking for a different fix than this. The second concern regarding the sidewalks is the cracks between them. And I was told that there's a threshold of 1/4 inch before they'll be ground down. And there are several that meet that. The problem is with them getting marked on July the 20th, the paint is starting to fade and nothing's happened. And we have a lot of walkers, not only the people in our community, but people come from all over. They finish walking down here and then they want some hill work. So they come up to us, and I've personally tripped over this 2 times, even though I know it's there, and it really needs to be ground down. The second area of concern is the lack of ADA corners at 4 intersections within our neighborhood. There are 6 corners that a person with mobility issues cannot navigate. There is 1 corner at Turkey Ridge and Leland, 2 corners at Sweetberry and Leland, 1 corner at Turkey Ridge and Barn Owl, and 2 corners at Eileen Court and Forsythia. It is my understanding that approval for this work to be done must come from this governing body. I hope that this approval process moves along so that everyone can enjoy our neighborhood in a safe manner. After the tornado, there were some downed trees that are still within our community, particularly on the Tuckaway Lane, on some of those lots where there's no houses and nobody's taking responsibility for cleaning them up. And I didn't know if that is a code violation of any type or anything. It's just unsightly. And then the other issue involves the lots right down here on Swinyar at Leland on both sides of the road that they have not been mowed. The one has been mowed that backs up to It Is Written. It was mowed one time very haphazardly. And the other side, I'm not sure that it's been mowed at all this year. Usually we get a mowed at least at the 4th of July because we have company coming to town and we want to look nice. Well, that didn't happen this year. And the weeds are very tall and everything. And I'm sure that's against a code violation. If somebody's house was that high, that they would be cited for that. So those are my concerns this evening.
Is there any
Okay,
way you
thank
can
you.
leave us a copy of that?
Yes.
And that way we can get our city manager to look at that, and
Who wants this?
I'll take it, or city manager will. And that way we can look at it in a workshop and
Okay.
he can pass it on to whichever department he
Is
needs
that
to.
is that everything you brought up tonight?
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate
Hey,
your comments.
Can we let Public Works address that real quick if we could? Or
Are they here?
If he has knowledge of it, I don't know what, first I've heard of this, but especially the concern about marking the sidewalk already.
Yeah.
Did you guys do that? Can you speak to that, Scotty?
Yes.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Scott Wheeler. I'm the foreman for the Public Works Department. I spoke with this lady on a couple different occasions.
Okay.
We had a gentleman come out to demo a product, and the reasoning behind her stating that the product appeared to be too steep was he didn't have enough product with him to make this repair complete. In the meantime, this company has went out of business. So
What a
we had a
concept.
demo of a company that went out 2 days after they showed up. And I believe, I don't know if you've checked your email, but I sent you an email today.
Oh, no, I haven't seen it.
Well, I sent you an email. We're still waiting to hear back from Chapman Concrete Services. They do some work for us in the area in regards to the pricing. He was supposed to get back with me at lunch today, but they had a big pour going on, and he must not have been able to get back with me. But the orange paint marks, I have personally put on the ground. It's where I go through, and we do it on the greenway and every subdivision around, and mark them. If they're more than 1/4 of an inch, they're out of ADA compliance. That is the reason behind the orange paint. Every one of the marks, I know you said you went behind me and took paint and marked. Well, I'd have no idea how to determine my marks from yours, whether yours are in compliance or not. We have a 1/4 inch. That is very slim measurement to go off of to be in compliance. And we have had the grinding crew out, maybe not in areas that she has seen. This is something that we've been working on for the last 2 years since we bought the grinding machine. The tops of the catch basins are made out of precast concrete, and it is harder than any of your normal concrete, and the grinder that we use will not cut it down sufficiently. And that's the reasoning behind trying to find another product to fill in with. And the only other result would be digging probably 60 different areas out of sidewalk through the whole neighborhood and rebuilding. But that was the input. Me and Eric have discussed this. It's been ongoing for a couple of weeks back and forth with him. But he's aware of the issue as well.
So you're working on it.
Yes.
Let me ask you this question. I'll have to study this, but she mentioned several, I think she said 4 intersections where we could do ADA compliance and stuff like that.
There's
So in
actually
this-
6.
Okay, so 6, that's good news. So there's money in this year's budget. It's the first time we've ever done it to begin our ADA transition.
Right.
Federal government, state government has required us to do that. are we making a list of things such as this that we can begin a starting point? Obviously, we can't do all of it for several years, but we are going to do some every year. Are we making a list that we can attack certain projects and then keep that list going as we knock each project out?
That, we made a list last summer.
Okay,
I believe it's still on our computer system.
right,
And I sent the guys out. I went ahead of them and marked all the greenway system.
sure,
I've been through and marked the neighborhoods. I even had one gentleman call and argue with me, stating that I had marked an area in front of his house that definitely wasn't a trip hazard. And I told him, I said, sir, I said, we've got 1/4 of an inch to work with.
sure.
I said, so,
So will you get with Eric, the director, and Wayne, the city engineer, and compile that list and then get with me and we'll start that process as we can?
right,
We know we can't get it all done in 1 year, but this is the first year we've budgeted money to do that.
right. And the Greenbrier area over here is one of the areas that has the catch basins. For some reason, all of the older homes that wasn't just previous ones built, when they come through and poured their concrete, they didn't keep it up to the top of the catch, back to the catch basin lids for a form. And therefore, it provides a area for a trip hazard.
Okay.
But
Is that fixable
yes,
over time or?
yes.
Okay.
We're still working on this product that they demonstrated for us. It's $350 for 5 gallons.
Does any other company have that same product or was it just one company go out of
We're
business?
working on some that's singular,
Okay,
trying to get it worked out with them.
okay,
You mix the sand in with it, and it's a type of epoxy rosin, and it stays pliable to an extent to where it won't break, and the impact resistance is harder than the natural concrete would be. So,
so since you've sent her an email, can you stay in touch with her about the plans?
yes, I have.
Okay, thank you.
We've spoken back and forth.
Thank you very much.
So the one other thing I'd like to bring up is the trees that's fallen, that's on private property. We can't really do anything except from a codes perspective. Andrew could probably have somebody look at that in the next day or so. And
Can you look at that, Aaron?
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Scotty, will you get this paper down here? Check through this and see what we need to address. Thank you.
Yeah, there's actually 6 areas that
Okay.
we had discussed.
Okay, we'll be sure to follow up with you.
Excellent.
That's good to hear. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you.
your turn.
My name is Jay Jones. I live at 5978 Talent Road.
I'm Jimmy Rhodes. I live at 5953 Talent Road. I hope you can hear me.
We can.
Our concern is the corner of Talent and McDonald Road. On June 20 of this year, I had a young woman crash through my fence and land on my front yard. She was traveling down Talent Road, east-west, and the gentleman traveling down McDonald Road, north-south, thought it was a 4-way stop. And he thought she was going to stop, so he pulls out in front of her, she swerves and crashes through my fence. On August 5, 2020, after I had repaired my fence, the same exact thing happened again. I've got pictures. Car crashed through my fence. I let the towing company through my gate. They came around, hooked the car up, towed it out. I got the fence fixed again. It's very confusing. People traveling north and south on McDonald and people traveling Talent Road east and west, half of them are assuming that it's a 4-way stop, and then there's confusion, and then we have collisions. I'm proposing that we have a 4-way stop there.
Yeah, just to reiterate, I come through there, I'm on the opposite side of Jimmy's place. And, you can tell when somebody's from out of town or they just don't understand that it's a 2-way stop. And they have the right of way if they're coming down McDonald Road, obviously, to turn right or left, and they just sit there. So I don't know if a 4-way stop is going to fix it or a light, probably not worth a light, but something's got to be done. I will say that, you know, a lot of it's teenagers or people that like to drive fast. Is another concern is when they stop at that going, I guess it would be east on Talent, passing our houses. And I'm out, you know, in my field a lot, and he's out with his kids. The speed that they get between the four-way stop and 200 yards to my mailbox is well over 35 miles an hour. And it's more often than not. And actually, you know, we take care of the property, you know, the roadside property. And I'm out mowing, I'm just amazed at how fast cars, even mothers and you know, citizens drive very quickly once they get to that stop and they want to get home going east on Town. So again, it's 35 miles an hour, but they're well over that within 200 yards. So I don't know if there's the opportunity to slow down with some kind of, you know, hey, this is your speed, and that gets them thinking, hey, you know, I'm already over what from there on is 35 miles an hour. So there's a long way, and you're going into residential. Obviously, there's drives that come out that are hidden, and, you know, we're just looking at it from a safety standpoint so that, you know, somebody doesn't get killed.
So our police chief is not here tonight. I think he's out. We can definitely pass that along, and also our city engineer to look at traffic. I will tell you, some of these flashing your speed signs, it's an encouragement to see who can get going the fastest before they get out of the radar sight. So those are not always the best control for that. We have officers who work a lot of overtime for traffic and stuff like that. So if we could pass that along to our police and.
You know, that's been a special patrol set up for Town Road. So we've been out there pretty hard lately.
Thank you.
No, he's not.
So we'll get with the city engineer and see if he can study that and see if he recommends and what they're requesting to be a four-way stop. The commission want to do that?
I know that some Collegedale Academy students came about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago and mentioned putting a stop sign there as a suggestion. Did we ever do anything with that? I mean, maybe there's a study that's already been done that we can pull up quickly.
Commissioner White, maybe I missed that meeting. I don't know anything about that.
It was the one where they ate all of our brownies and they came and.
Several years.
Yeah, several years ago.
Oh,
Commissioner Carr?
I don't remember that part, but certainly we can look at it again and see if there is
Yeah, I think we need
engineering
more recent
recommendation to
study.
put a four-way stop there. And then
I used to
Commissioner
live a
wants to
quarter of
do
a
that.
mile from that intersection and went out that way a lot, both directions. And I was just out there this week and it was confusing. I mean, people coming and going, very confusing. And if we got some options, I would recommend, not knowing what the real people who know that business would suggest, but up in the middle of the intersection, put a red light flashing one direction and the other direction, put an orange flashing light. So even the people coming on McDonald would slow down. So they got an orange flashing light. The other way would be a red flashing light, and they'd know that they'd have to stop because those stop signs are not that easily visible all the time. They're not right out there. It's a challenge, and I appreciate them coming tonight because
we'll take a look at it.
yeah, good deal.
Yeah, because it's odd because I travel that route and it seems like more and more people are stopping on McDonald Road. And I've seen some almost rear-end collisions on that north-south direction because people are just stopping. I've never seen it. Usually people know. So I don't know if we've had more out-of-towners moving in that just, I can't see.
Does mine too.
That just don't know the intersection. So I think that, like what the vice mayor said, some kind of signs or something to be done would be great. So thank you.
Road paint, stop and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
we'll look at that and
Yeah, thank you.
bring back a recommendation to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Sure.
you. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll go on with our agenda. Unfinished business, there is none. Our new business, the first item is the Tennessee Department of Agriculture tree planting grant.
Kelly is not here tonight. They're working from home due to COVID precautions. We have applied for and received the Tennessee Department of Agriculture tree planting grant. The commission needs to formally accept that. It's a $2,657 grant. It has a 50% match. We would take the match out of the economic development line item that Kelly has, which is for stuff exactly like this to help encourage grant receivals and stuff. Damaged trees or in and or around the vet park, potentially to include where all those really leaving cypresses were we're terraced right there along Mr. Carter's fence line in between us and his business. So in order for us to capitalize on this grant, we need a formal acceptance of the grant from the commission.
Okay, any questions, comments?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the tree planting grant. Roll call?
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Garver,
Yes,
Commissioner White,
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Yay.
Mayor Lamb.
Yay. The next item is tree and brush grinding service approval.
Scotty's going to handle that, Public Works. He has some information.
Good evening once again. I guess as most anyone knows that lives in the area, we have quite the damage from the last tornadoes that come through. Our brush grinding service come out before we ever got a third to a fourth of it all picked up and measured because we were running out of room to store it. They come in and ground what they had measured off and pulled out with at least as much, if not more, than we had ground already previously. Contractor that we're wanting to try to get to come in, they guarantee a minimum of 30 tons of chips per hour. This is not the same contractor that we used just a couple weeks ago that finished up. This is actually Big Woody's Tree Service, which we have used in the past. They do this for a living. That's what they do. We're going to piggyback off the city of Cleveland's contract. So the price, the hourly rate will be $3.50 an hour. They will provide all their equipment, everything needed to take care of all the service themselves.
that is 350, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Scotty, do you guesstimate the number of hours it will take to do that? Is it anywhere, say around 10, maybe to 20 hours? I know
I
you
would
can't get it
say
exact.
At least probably close to 20 hours, considering how much we have there to grind. And the thing of it is, it's not as much the volume as it is the size of the stuff we had this time. It's not like just a regular household trimmings where they can come in and they can burn through it in a day's time.
So plus or minus $7,000 potentially what it might take to do this.
We have the potential for that.
Okay. Okay.
So we're looking at about $7,000?
Ish. We don't know exactly what it would take, but we do know the
Approximately.
fixed hourly cost.
Okay.
And what happened with the previous contractor?
He
And
ground everything that he had given an estimate for. Pulled out.
Okay. Does this come out of any of the emergency funds that various,
I don't think so.
okay,
Our waste cycle funds and all that kind of stuff.
okay.
Yeah.
Any additional questions, comments?
so we're looking at 20 hours. Should we put a cap on it or not put a cap? I mean, use your discretion, I guess, but
I think,
doesn't
That's a
have to
good
be
question,
done.
Commissioner. I would guess right now that if it goes past $10,000, we'd need to bid it. We don't anticipate that. So why don't we say,
You don't need to practice that Cleveland's already bid.
Oh,
and
okay.
gotten. That's what he's talking about, the piggy bank.
so we're just paying per hour, however,
We're
how many
just-
hours it costs?
We've already got an adequately bidded price.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so you might want to put a cap on it or something like that.
I just don't want to lose that bidded price either
Yeah.
because that seems to be a fairly decent deal.
Yeah.
But at the
So-
same time, I don't want them just to run and we get blindsided with,
Yeah, I don't think they'll
Large.
do that because they have a minimum performance measurement of how many tons per hour?
35.
30
30,
30 tons.
30 tons.
to 30 tons per hour.
That's a
think-
lot.
it is a lot.
So.
I think we ought to go ahead with it. Just go ahead with it. I really-
There's too many variables because we don't know how long it'll take to get
Right.
it down. But what we do know is that they have a minimum performance standard per hour and that each hour is contractual for 350. Be able to do that for under $10,000.
Yeah.
And we don't have to bid it anyway, according to the attorney, because Cleveland's already bid it.
So is this an ongoing contract with them or is it just one time?
It's an ongoing contract. with
So
Cleveland.
we're doing away with the other company we used to use or?
Well, we have used Woody's in the past. We generally will get the contract price and see who we can get cheapest to do it for.
I think
And
one
they're
difference,
all real comparable.
Scotty, correct me if I'm wrong. I think one difference too, based on what the vice mayor and other commissioners have asked, is the previous vendor
Mhm.
ground a set amount,
Yes,
whereas this is a minimum performance per hour at an hourly rate.
yes,
That's a big difference.
yes.
So I think that answers your question.
Yeah.
They did what they were contracted to do. Now the contract's done.
So I've heard a lot of positive comments about the mulch people are getting, that it's really nice ground down. Does Big Woody's do the same or they got the bigger?
It'll be a 3-inch screen. And that's basically the same size screen, but it will be a larger machine. The
But it
machine
should
that
be
was
as
out
fine as what they're getting today.
there, it won't be as fine.
Won't be as fine.
Yes, because that was one of the big reasons this gentleman was using a tub grinder over a belt drive system. And it's just, the tub systems are what you get your finer yard mulch and stuff with. Most of the times, if they were doing it for sale, they would grind it 3 times. They'd put it back in the machine and grind it to get what you would buy in a bag per se.
The good news is the bigger chips will last longer, so.
Yeah, but the community doesn't like the bigger ones. I'll tell you that much, what I heard. When y'all went to the smaller ones, I mean, people in my neighborhood just raved on it.
How
It was free.
big is big?
Yeah.
I mean, the big
I mean-
chunks, you know, I mean, how, what are we looking at?
How do you complain about free?
People do. It's America, you know, we got freedom of,
Yeah, well, yeah, we got freedom too.
Well, I mean, even at the rate, if we hired the same gentleman back in at $3.50 an hour that just got done with the grinding, I would estimate him at least 60 hours, if not more. Plus, we would have to provide help for him out there. He's one man. He bought this machine and set up and
Yeah.
was trying to get into the grinding business. And we can get a lot more for our money going through Woody's.
Yeah, because the previous guy charged us per the job, not per hour.
Correct.
He probably would have lost money on that because he ground it so many times down to a finer.
no, I'm just saying what I heard. I
Yeah,
mean,
I hear
It was
you.
very complimentary of Public Works, so
Yeah, I agree with Garver.
So at the moment.
Well, we have money budgeted for cycle and everything
Okay.
else.
Oh,
Public
so that's
Works,
where it
yes.
come from,
So it will-
okay.
Gotcha.
The
Yeah,
motion
this,
in
I mean,
order?
this is something we have to do annually anyway.
Yeah.
A couple
Okay.
times a year, grinding.
Did you approve, do you approve it?
I said, is there a
Any other,
motion? And-
any other comments? Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this service. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Garver,
Yes,
Commissioner White,
Yeah,
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yay.
Mayor Lamb.
Yay. Next, we have reports from city administration.
Things tonight, Board of Commissioners. First of all, as an announcement, the auditors will be here September 16, 17, and 18. This is a courtesy heads up for that. It's always a challenging time when they're here to keep us hopping. The library is going to be delayed at least another week for their opening. Now, when they open, they're going to be having like time slots for computers, people coming in needing help with office support such as fax or copies or something like that. They will not open just to people walk around and browse because of COVID. They have all their online services still intact, but they're having some staffing challenges this week, people off helping their elderly parents. They've had some turnover, et cetera. So they are not going to be able to open up and provide those services for about another week. I wanted to let you guys know that. as a courtesy. The library director contacted me today about that. We are due to get some COVID funds from state and federal government up to a potential of $172,380. That's just not a check that they write us. It's reimbursement for things that we do, not to exceed that. So one of the things we actually have an opportunity to do is to purchase additional laptops if folks need to work from home, whereas before we could not afford that. Laptops are covered as part of their criteria. So in working today with staff, we found a vendor on state contract that would give us 23 laptops, which is what the staff said we need, of $35,052. The problem with that is they won't be delivered till January. Well, that's unacceptable. We've got to have them before then. So we're going to have to go back to the drawing board vendor-wise and see if we could find a vendor, preferably on state contract because it's already been bid, that can get us one. So we're still working on that. So what I think I'd like to do is, we know about what we're going to spend roughly. We can't confirm shipping costs yet, but I don't think we might have to pay shipping costs with these number of these laptops. So what I'd like to do, because this money is reimbursable, I'd like to maybe request to purchase these laptops for a figure not to exceed $45,000. We anticipated that will come in less than that, but if we can get approval to spend that money, understanding that this money is reimbursed for these funds, it's not coming out of our budget, we'll spend it and then get reimbursed. That should be able to get us a timeline, as the product is already bid out on state contract. Tom, our IT guy's looking into that to try to change laptop brand to see if we can get something that's there. So any questions about that? That's kind of what I'd like to do, and get them in. as
So
soon as
I
we
will say
can.
that's awful expensive for technology today. That's about $1,500 per laptop.
It's a software for Microsoft Office and stuff like that.
Who,
I'm looking at one now at Best Buy. I'm not saying Best Buy, but
Sure.
that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Versus a desktop, and you can get those pretty dirt cheap.
Okay.
I'm just really, I guess I'm a little shocked that 1,500 is the cost of those.
I
that we're
What would the
looking
name
at.
I think it depends upon the size of it and what all is on it, because I have been looking at some and they, anywhere from 500 to 2,000. So, it just depends upon how much memory and all of that good stuff is on it.
And I do think they need laptops so they can bring it back and forth if they can.
Yes.
Even though desktops are
Who
more
would,
reasonable.
who would be using these, receiving them?
Various members of the staff identified by the key managers as the potential to work from home.
Okay.
So
All I
they-
can answer to you on that, Vice Mayor, is that's the price on the state contract. It's
So
already been
most
pre-bid.
people, when they dial in from, they're using Wi-Fi, and
I
they
would
don't
assume
load
so.
stuff. They don't load stuff on their laptop. To your point, Mayor, because they're using the LAN connection at your virtual site, which is the city of Collegedale.
Right.
So I don't know that we really need a huge laptop. I mean, if this all goes away, are we going to keep these laptops for these people?
Yes.
So they won't be their personal.
No.
Okay.
The government property.
But
issued by
we're
the
going
city.
to continue to let them keep them
I would think so.
even
As long
after
as they're still
COVID's gone
employed
or
with us.
whatever.
I would think so. We wouldn't need to take them up. It would be.
I see where they have one, especially with the times that we're in right now, because I use mine, I know you use yours a great deal. And it would still belong to the city. They would still use it unless they are no longer employed with us, and then they have to return it back in.
Yes.
I think a lot has to do with the make, the memory and everything. And it's kind of like the saying, you get what you pay for, to a degree, especially those with
But-
computers. You want something that's going to last, that you don't have a lot of issues with because of their not having correctly, not so much the software as actually the electronic components and things to it are faulty.
Yeah. So I asked Tom Turk, who's our IT coordinator, to check the specifications on these laptops and to make sure that they were an appropriate spec. And then check the state contract to see if they had that spec, and they do. And that's where that pricing comes from, and that's where the specs come from.
And I believe since this isn't our money, we're using money that we're getting, that it's the thing that we should really do if there's not some more urgent need for this reimbursement money. I mean, it
There's
seems
very
to me-
specific guidelines of what this money can
Right.
even be
It
used
seems
for.
very
This is one of
legitimate
them.
that people can continue to work at their optimum level. And having your own personal one that you have to work from home with is not ideal in any form. So I think since it's money we're going to get related to this process, it's a good idea.
We don't know how long it's gonna take to get that money, though. It could be a year out.
I think it'd be quicker than that. These are expenditures that usually have to be used between maybe March and up to November. I don't think it'll be that much. These are COVID funds that have already been set aside, being held by the state.
But it comes out of our pocket till then.
What kind of security protocols are in play for people who are working from home with the wireless connections? Has Tom talked about that? Is that built into that cost, or will that be an extra cost on top of the equipment cost?
I would assume it's already part of what the laptop is configured to do.
Right. And I mean, to your point, Vice Mayor, some of the computer, like what Wayan does.
Yeah.
But
And I don't
what somebody
disagree-
like
I
HR
don't disagree with
uses
that, but
could be, cheaper. So I could see both sides of it, but I do agree with you that a $5 computer that you can do
But I know when
wirelessly.
I dial in or I VPN, I'm connected to my employer,
Right.
not just my laptop.
And that's the reason why I asked the security connection, because that
Because they-
opens up.
We don't load anything on the hard drive.
Right.
It's against our security protocol. But the RAM is pretty dirt cheap now anyway, if you go online and look at it, so.
It seems like we could spend less, but I don't mind putting at the cap with the idea that less would be appropriate.
I anticipate it to be less. I had the exact figure today until Tom walked into my office and informed me that they were not be here till January. Clearly, that's unacceptable. We're trying to find something on state contract of the brand that can deliver us something quicker than January.
Do you know what the brand he's looking at?
He mentioned Dell. He mentioned one other one, and I can't remember.
HP.
Dale's pretty good. It's up to date.
How quickly are you looking to purchase?
Quick,
Quick.
so people can work from home if they need to.
So the other question I guess is do you foresee all 21 working from home at one time, or could we cut that in half and do like half works? You see, I'm saying like a rental program where it's not assigned specifically to them, but it's kind of like in a locker type situation. They check out if they need to work from home. I mean, I don't know what discussion was, I'm just trying to think outside the box to cut some costs, but it is giving money too. So
It's a
Free
good
money.
question. We have not figured that. I do not anticipate 23 people working from home.
right.
But it would be impossible for me to anticipate that, because if we have a large exposure to COVID, then that might max out all 23 people working from home, although I think that's highly unlikely. And remember, this money is not money that we're going
In it, that would be on us. But for example, I sign a waiver that if I do damage to the computer and it's my own fault, then I pay for it. Would we have something in play like that?
I think we do that anyway. If
Get
we
a
have
service,
gov-
get a
If we
service
have government
contract.
equipment that our staff, whether it's a truck or a
That's-
laptop or whatever else, if it's an accident and it's damaged, then we have insurance to cover that. But if anyone is overly careless and something happens to property and we think that it's their fault, then we address that with the individual employee.
And I understand. I mean, something that occurred that is not their fault, I understand.
Right.
But if something through neglect or, like you said, yeah, whatever.
Or sitting it down and driving
example.
over it.
Yeah.
My guess is there'll be a service contract will take care
Yeah.
of that. I mean, that's typical. You get that many piece of equipment.
I would think so, but I cannot verify that.
Well,
I think, I understand, I think like you, that it's a lot of money. I can understand putting a cap on it and let's do our due diligence and find, like you need the cap, but find one that we feel like that's going to be appropriate within, we might find something that isn't quite as expensive, but you have the funds provided for you to go ahead and purchase it before they go up again, the prices or anything change on it. I do know that with the market right now, it's hard to get things, because people aren't manufacturing, things are put out, so things are a little bit more expensive, depending on certain items, and so that's one thing I'm concerned about. If we need it and the manufacturer, if for whatever reasons is not being able to get it in a timely fashion because of the virus. I hear of the virus all the time. If we have the availability to go ahead and get something that we can get quicker without having to,
So the other thing I have a question about on this is, so I use my laptop. I know a lot of people use external monitors. Are we going to be buying external monitors and keyboards and
I don't think so.
mouses and,
I do not
they can do that for
anticipate that.
$19 themselves.
Huh?
Do they not?
but if it's to do their,
Yeah, but, okay, I'll give you an example. That I use for teaching, okay, they provided a monitor that just doesn't work. And actually, I went and purchased my own monitor that made a bigger screen, but it was more to my personal taste. And then board that I'm so used to working with, the style that I like. Those were on me because it wasn't something that in their, that's why I purchased my own. Do that, of course, it will go with me and they keep the computer, but the extras will go with me. I think we provide, if it's a laptop, it's already got the screen. But if they want to add something.
yeah, but it
that
could be
has
smaller than their 23-inch screen. That's why I'm just
Yeah, so
asking
that's
the
why I went
question.
out and I purchased it. And right now for like $24, you can get a 19 or above screen that can attach to the computer I did. They're not that expensive to get, the monitors.
Are they 25-inch or 27-inch screen?
13 or
Yeah, and then if you want a monitor, you can get, I've
Mine's
got a larger
13.
monitor.
that's what we standardly get
Yeah,
at work.
that's what mine is.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that question. This is a laptop that meets the specs that we have always purchased. I'm not sure what the screen size is on the recently purchased laptops that the city has purchased. But the person has assured me that these laptops meet the current recent specs and the current specs that he would buy normally for the city.
Okay.
Information that I have, that's really all that I asked him to do. I did not get into the exact weeds of, I call hard drive horsepower, all that kind of stuff. It just, does this computer meet the specs that we would need for a person to do their job? Similar to the laptops that we have recently purchased for the city. He
Okay.
assured me that they do and that they were on state contract and that was the price. Like I said, the thing that I kicked back today was January 1 is not an acceptable delivery time frame. And so we're trying to find a laptop that meets all the specs that you're talking about. To reiterate, Vice Mayor, I do not anticipate buying additional monitors, keyboards, et cetera, anything like that, to be able to get something in. So if we have staff that need to work from home, we can equip them with a laptop that stays government owned to do so.
Okay. Commissioner White?
Yeah, so you mentioned that the software was included. What cost will we incur after year one? Because I know like with Microsoft Office and things like that, it increases in value because I know that some people aren't able to negotiate a good price. What kind of cost are we going to be bearing in the future?
For Microsoft Office?
Yeah, Office or any kind of licensing that might be paid up front for year one, but moving from year one on, what are we going to be incurring?
I do not know the answer to that question because I'm assuming that's part of the bid package.
Like what you were saying, Commissioner White, where it was used up. In general, are we not going to be using for the whole city anyway, having a software package that we have to renew?
Yes.
So
but-
that
but-
would not be included in that when we're package would be included with what's already here,
It wouldn't be
even those that
anything.
are just desktop or whatever.
It is, but Commissioner White's question has merit because I do understand what he's asking.
Yeah.
Is I do not know what the length of, per se, the Microsoft Office length of that would be. I don't know if it's 1 year, annual renewable, 2 years, 3 years. I don't know.
I think
I'm
that's
going to make the assumption that
negotiated
Tom knows because he said he was pleased with that package when he recommended it to me.
If we delayed to one more meeting for you to get some more answers, do you think that's still an acceptable amount of time for you to quickly be able to purchase them?
Yeah, if that's
Turk here to answer questions.
indeed.
Would,
Vice Mayor, would you feel more
No,
comfortable?
I would agree. I'd like to see a small spec sheet. I mean, I'm curious because I've got a lot of questions because to me, I would almost say if they have a desktop here or a box underneath the desk, take that away and just let them use the laptop as their home and office computer.
My problem isn't with the cost that you've, with the specs, because I like to buy a computer that the specs are going to be worth, it's going to last me, 3 or 4 years, but technology is vastly improving. You also don't want to buy something that's cheap and then it doesn't work, like Debbie said, and you're slowing down. So I just would like to see a little bit more, not that I'm against it at all. I think it's good for it. I just have a little bit more information, I think would help the Vice Mayor feel a little bit better and myself feel a little better.
Does that make sense what I was saying? Because we're basically, if you don't do that, you're giving somebody 2 computers under the desk, the box, and then one at home. Where, for example, when I was part-time working at home, I had the laptop and that was my office and my home computer.
Yeah, the CPU was the laptop. I understand.
Yeah.
so are you suggesting then that we leave it to our first meeting in September?
Maybe put on the, would it
Are we
be a
having
workshop?
this week?
But we can't make a
No,
decision
but to
at
have the
workshop.
information, not to take up
Specs.
time in the,
Are you
Shot?
out?
I will not be here next week.
Michelle
I
will
know.
not be here
Okay.
either.
so let's put it on the next commission meeting agenda then. I
But
would
if
feel
our,
that way.
if our computer genius, this is his recommendation, meets all our other specs we're using and everything else, and we got the money coming in, I see absolutely no reason to postpone this. We're gonna do it, we all know that. What do we want to do? Reduce the price? Is that what your goal is?
Well, I just want to make sure we got all the things
Well,
covered.
that's what we pay a guy to do.
We're really not going to know the specs
we're-
until he finds the computer.
We know more
We're
than
going to
him.
negotiate, trying to find something within. He's just wanting
Well, y'all can make a
This is
motion.
my-
I mean, there's
my,
nothing stopping y'all, so go ahead.
Would it be permissible, Vice Mayor, if we went ahead and took care of this tonight? And then for him to send us the specs email?
Yeah, I mean, if y'all got enough votes to pass it, yes.
It's a suggestion.
I move to approve.
I'm not opposed to us getting money. I want to make sure we're using the money right. We've thought about all the things. A lot of people don't have a computer program policy for people who work at home. I don't know if we do. I can't get to the personnel manual on the computer anymore with our new website. So I just don't know, do we need to build something in? Because we're talking about the key managers now versus 23 additional people. And I've got a lot of questions, so.
We have computer conduct policies already in place in our personnel manual. Yes, we've had those for years.
Internet usage and stuff like that, but do you say stuff like in your laptops, you can't use it for personal or, stuff like that? So data sharing kind of protection and.
the laptops that some are using now, how old are they?
Some are relatively new. I think most of them that were old have already been retired. So if I had to take a wild guess, probably
Retire them after 3 years.
That's what I was thinking.
how old is it?
We actually have several laptops. I have one that I use in the courtroom that was probably given to me in the past year.
Right.
I have one at home that's been bought in the past.
If there was any over, because I knew that there was a replacement policy for some. how long they.
So
can
hopefully the
use it.
pandemic will be gone by then, because 45,000 every 3
You're
years
dreaming.
could become,
Yeah.
It's not gonna cost that every 3 years. A lot of, I don't anticipate that, but
but you never know. I mean,
Could we use more than 21 computers? Going back to what the vice mayor was saying, where we have some older desktops that need to be replaced, that could be used dually, work from home, or
I'm not really in favor of having somebody at their desk working on a laptop all the time. When they're all day long working at their desk, it seems to be more ergonomically friendly for them to have a CPU and a keyboard and a larger screen.
well, the way the things work today, they've got docking stations that
Yep.
connect to a monitor and a laptop in its own keyboard.
Right.
It's just using the CPU.
Not to exceed, expecting it will be less. No.
I expect it to be much less, but I'm just
Right.
trying to, I don't know.
Well, that's what
think it'll
you,
be
that's
much
what you
less.
asked
Want
for,
some
and I
wiggle
would,
room.
that's what you asked for, and I,
Well, the first bid was 35,000.
Yeah,
And so I'm trying to put a figure on it, not to, because I
Yeah.
anticipate it will be less because he's changing brand of laptop,
yeah,
even though it's still on the state spec. He's looking into that.
yeah. And you need a little wiggle, you need some wiggle room power there. to-
Potentially,
Yeah. If there, and just in case there was a possibility.
yes.
Do it.
I did.
And you're gonna have them send the specs out?
I'll
I'll
have him get them
second.
tomorrow, and if he can pull them up and get them to you by email very quickly.
I'll second it at this time, pending that it's capped at 45 with the expectation of it being less, like Commissioner Garver said, so that we can move along and get what's needed to be done in order to run the city.
Thank you.
I fully understand where you're coming from. I know the usage, and any of us that have to deal with a computer on a daily basis. I understand. But I understand where the vice mayor's coming from too, about the expense. I know a lot of them are out there that are cheaper. Now you can buy them for bulk cheaper, but sometimes you get cheap when you buy cheaper. So I would like to see that with the specs, exactly what it is, who the manufacturer is, and the component. The software, I'm not too concerned about, even though I am concerned, but it's going to be in a package deal with what our city gets anyway, is from my understanding. Or did I misunderstand you about how the, like the.
you're gonna have to buy a new license for each laptop for the Outlook
Software.
Outlook software.
But they
which
should be able
includes
to negotiate.
Excel, Outlook Mail, Word, PowerPoint.
We sure,
That should come with the computer.
surely
Some of that's
that's,
probably in the
Some
state
of
It's
bid.
in the
Sure, that's in the
package.
It's usually separate, but
Not bad.
I didn't pay
You can buy
extra
a
for mine.
licensing to cover
Well,
so
we have
much. That's
we
not
have a
what
motion and a
department
second on the
fixes.
floor. Any other comments?
yeah, I have one. I do not disagree at all with the questions that have been asked. Very legitimate, very appropriate. But I just don't see anything changing. And that's why the motion was made, and I support that.
Okay.
Once again, this quote is from the state. It's not a quote. It's a bid price
Bid, right.
from the state contract that's already been bid out. I would be very comfortable in the fact that this computer laptop would be quite robust, if that would be an appropriate word. Ongoing costs, I'm not sure exactly how those are covered because I don't have the data sheet in front of me of what the ongoing software costs would be. I don't know how many years. I anticipate probably several. I do understand ongoing costs and relicensing fees. We do that now. I think that Tom recommended this knowing his comfort zone with it because he is the one that does every other computer in the city with all the desktops. So he would have a comfort zone with that, or he would not have recommended it.
A lot of organizations have contracts that provide information for all their computers.
We do.
And I'm
We
sure
do
the
that.
city has that, so individual computers aren't going to have to pay again and again and again when the city gets a license for the whole program.
Well, I believe many of those licenses came X amount to X amount,
Right,
up to 10 or up to
Right.
20, up to 25. And that's usually how those licenses work.
exactly.
So perhaps he's familiar with that and goes from there.
I'm sure he is.
Commissioner White, did you
Never mind,
have
I
one
don't
more?
think I can, never mind, it's fine.
Okay.
I moved the previous question.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker,
Yay.
Commissioner Garver,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
No.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
No,
Mayor Lamb.
Yay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner White,
I have nothing tonight.
Commissioner Garver.
Good question. How's Prospect Church coming?
It's going well. The northernmost culvert, a new bridge, it's really a culvert, is complete except for the pavement that's joins the old pavement to the new culvert. That's the one that's closest to University Drive. The southernmost one, which is the one closest to Darbo, is currently under construction. We anticipate, you know how that goes, but we anticipate that that culvert will be finished and the road will be open by Labor Day.
Oh, good.
We hope.
Drive around, look at things, but you drive down there, you can't see anything. So I'll quit driving down there.
So what you can see is right now, if you went down Prospect Church Road, because remember, there are homes between the two
Right,
culverts. We
right.
couldn't trap those folks in. So you can, to get an idea of what it looks like, you can go down from University Drive to see the new culvert on the northernmost one. You can actually drive across it, et cetera.
Oh, good.
Hasn't been paved. It's concrete and there's asphalt on either side when they get done with the project. They'll do both of those at the same time. You can't see the other one near Darbo because it's under construction, but you can get a general idea of what it looks like.
That's a huge plus for this community. Very, very good.
We've
Thank
tried to
you.
get that done for 20 years.
That's all.
Commissioner White.
Oh wait, you're not going to be here next week for a workshop, are you? Never mind.
I'm going to see my son.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time. I was just going to see if we could put the Talent Road and McDonald Road on that workshop agenda.
Yeah, that sounds good. I don't know if engineering.
I know that's really short period of time for something like that.
It's just a week.
Yeah.
So we might have a recommendation for you. I mean, if the commission wants to do that and Public Works and PD and engineering and everybody signs off on that, to me, Scotty, correct me if I'm wrong, that's not a huge deal. Stop signs and road paint. Sam, is that something the commission would have to vote to change the roads by the law, et cetera?
Well, I mean, if you make a change, you're talking about just putting in a stop sign?
On an existing city road?
I don't think so. I think you'd have to have an engineering reason to do it. It's not like you're changing a speed limit or anything like that.
Right.
You just have to have an engineering reason to do it to comply with the form.
Yeah, so would you give us 2 weeks to check into that?
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
a
I just wanted to
short
make sure that
timeframe.
there was like a time that we would have to speak on. I was just thinking,
We will do our best to have a recommendation for you by the first commission meeting of September.
okay, awesome.
Very good.
Okay.
Good point. Good point.
Commissioner Baker,
Not at this time.
Vice Mayor.
if I can find it. So we've had some flooding out off Edgemond Road. It's a known issue that we've had for years. Eric was going to look at putting a strip of asphalt back in to divert the water from going down. I think it's Sunburst, one of those. Anyway, it's he's very familiar with it.
Okay.
They were out there looking at it during the most recent flood.
Okay.
It's a house that usually flood 10 years ago when Mayor Turner was mayor at the time.
Is it near the creek?
Air conditioning unit. The person who sold the house didn't tell him about flooding, just said there was a little water that gets in the garage from time to time.
Okay.
I volunteered to be a witness and a few other people, including some of our ex-city employees, Joe Farrell, Rodney Keaton, a few of those people that would testify. I told them that they need to get an attorney to go see if the statute of limitations has run out, because when Joe was here, he said they should have put the house block level at least minimum. I don't know that groundstone really adds to it. I think development over time, underneath the street, it goes in, it makes an angle, and then it makes another angle. Wayne's very familiar with it, but we really need to get that strip of asphalt back in front of the road.
And you said Eric's familiar with it?
It will divert the water, and I thought we were going to do it. It never happened.
Scotty, do you have any knowledge of that?
Me and Eric discussed the water issue. He showed me some
The berm was there before they ground it down, and
Okay.
when they ground it down, nobody put it back in from the asphalt company.
But Eric's
So
familiar with it.
He's familiar,
Did he
but we
tell you
really
he
need
would
to
do
get
it?
moving on that. I know the neighborhoods, at least 4 or 5's coming in to talk about it because it affected both sides of the road.
Okay.
To me, it is a critical safety hazard because
Sure.
if there had been a kid anywhere close to it, it would, I know the Collegedale PD, the fire department was pulled out there because of how much water went through there. And it was probably up to my running board on my Pathfinder. So it's
On
probably
Edgeman?
on Sunburst, or
Okay.
whatever that road is.
Okay.
The sunburst come off of Edgeman?
It does.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the name of the road.
I remember that was, I mean, that's gone, that was a bad area for years.
Yeah, y'all probably remember it.
So
Yeah.
Scotty, I know Eric's on
Remember sitting out
vacation
in
this
the
week. Can you
audience
follow
there,
up with him on that? Since he's so familiar with it and ensure we get that done, please?
That area is just a collection of all the streets there.
Okay.
There's no underground drainage.
Okay.
It's all surface drainage area.
So Wayne was gonna go out there and walk around. I told him I'd be glad to go. Major downpour of rain
Right.
that bad, but it's been historical, and they feel like it's more grindstones issue, but I think it's development as a whole, and I think it's the street pipe that goes underneath the roadway, because it does go in, angle, and then angle back.
Okay. If there's any issues with getting that done, will you please let me know? I know Eric's on vacation this week, so
Yeah.
when he gets back, would you check on that and see if we can get that done?
And the other thing I'd say is I appreciate Eric getting the, right there off Talent Road, Mendoza Place.
Yes.
There was where they cut the pavement, put in pipes. It had sunk down about probably 4 to 5 inches, and
Yeah.
it was a nice bump when people hit it at 35 miles an hour, even though they had a sign out there. It seemed like it kept sinking. So he had them come back out and repave that. So
Good.
pass that along.
Yeah,
That's
that's some
all I
serious
have.
construction area through there.
Yeah.
Big time. One thing I also appreciate that the contractor is doing is they routinely go along the road on Absent Pike and knock off the big rock that falls down. When I say big, it's bigger than gravel you're traveling over, and it could blow a tire or potentially cause someone direct. I guess it's called a sweeping machine. Pardon my ignorance on certain, types of machines, but to try to sweep the road as much as they can, that's very helpful as well. I
They were
appreciate
out there,
them
they were
doing
out
that.
there weeding today off Talent Road, so.
Anything else? No, do I hear a motion
Mayor
to
Lamb,
adjourn?
I do have a couple.
You
things.
have something, okay?
Our next commission meeting will not be until September 8th.
That's correct.
Because 5:30 or 8:31 is a fifth Monday of the month, so we will not have a meeting that. And that same night at 5:50, we will have a beer board meeting. I will
Have
send
a what?
emails out to remind. We will be having a beer board meeting
Okay, yes.
on September 8th at 5:50. It is for the Cracker Barrel here in Collegedale. Until September 8th.
Okay.
So are we having a workshop next Monday?
Yes, Mayor Lamb will be chairing at my request because I will be out of town and Michelle has had her surgery and is off recuperating.
Have we heard from Michelle?
Yes,
She doing okay?
she is stir crazy, but ready to get back to work as most of us are.
Okay.
Aaron?
Second.
We're adjourned.